Hey everyone, I wanted to come and do a new video, basically an updated version of the skateboard haircut. First thing you want to do is you want to start off with freshly cleaned, wet hair. The sectioning for this haircut is going to be 5 sections. You're going to have a block at the top from the front hairline to the crown. Then you're going to have the sides sectioned separately, and the back is going to be split down the middle. The best way to start your sectioning is going to be to kind of have your mannequin or client lean back, and you're gonna look at the nose, and basically you want the nose to be in the middle of the block. So basically you wanna make your block as big as the top of the head is. So from parietal ridge to parietal ridge, so where the head starts to curve, right here, that is where you want to section your block. I'm gonna go from curve of the head, bring this hair down, other curve of the head, bring this hair down. Then you wanna go to the crown, and that is where you're gonna stop that section. Next, you wanna go from the end of the top section, so from the crown all the way down towards the back of the ear. You're gonna have to kind of angle it so that it meets up with the ear. You're gonna split the back down the middle, so you're gonna go about halfway from where the crown is, or the top of that block section, and then you're gonna go all the way down to the nape. Now, before you clip this off, go ahead and take down your first section. Which your first section, basically the whole back is gonna be split into about 4 or 5 subsections. You're gonna have 1, 2, 3, 4 in this case. So we're gonna start off with section 1, subsection 1, flip that up. We are gonna start the haircut in the back, but before we do, I wanted to explain this haircut. So if you are in the state of Virginia, when you take your state board exam, you're gonna be doing this exact haircut for the examiners. This haircut is called the 90-degree uniformly layered haircut. So this mannequin's from Pivot Point, by the way. I've had some teachers ask me where I got it. But basically, every single section of hair is gonna be projected at 90 degrees. Now, the thing with this haircut is the head is round, so 90 degrees is gonna change as you move around the head. So if I hold this up at the 90-degree angle, you can see that each of these little spikes are directed at 90 degrees. Now, if you look closely, so if I lower it down, it looks like this section is shorter than this section when in normal projection. But when you bring it out where it's supposed to be, you can see that each of these spikes are the exact same length. So if I took a ruler and measured each of these, it'd be about 5 inches. So keep in mind that as we work through this haircut, 90 degrees is gonna look different depending on where we are on the head. The first step is that you're gonna cut your perimeter guide. You're just gonna take 1 inch off throughout. When you take your state board exam, they're gonna have you take 1 inch off throughout the whole haircut. So we're just gonna kind of mimic that as well. You're gonna start off with your center section, like so. And you're going to comb down straight all the way down. And we're gonna cut off about 1 inch. The key here is to go with your comb. So follow your fingers all the way to the end where you have about 1 inch, transfer the comb, and you're gonna cut 1 inch off of the hair. You're gonna repeat the exact same thing, cutting to your guide. Now that we've cut our perimeter straight, we're gonna go right into the layers. Now, for your state board exam, if you live in Virginia, you are gonna have to demonstrate safe use of a razor. This is where you would do that. For sake of the video, since this is not just for state board, but teaching the uniform layered haircut, I'm just gonna continue using shears. Start in the center, I'm gonna take a vertical section. And the key is you really want to make sure that you are carving out your section. Don't just grab the hair like this. Actually, purposefully and meaningfully take your section like so. Then you're going to go overhanded to comb it, grab with your palm facing towards you, and you're going to pull all the way out at 90 degrees. The best way to tell that you're at 90 degrees is to look at the top of your section, that section line. Your comb is going to go directly out from it. So that means this is 90 degrees. Now, if my section line was here, I would go here, which is at 90 degrees. Another way to tell is if you lift up all the hair and you look at both lines that you're at, everything's gonna go in between those two. So when you're cross-checking, you wanna bring it out here, not down here. Everything is brought to 90. So you're gonna take your vertical middle section like I showed you. You're gonna comb overhanded, and you're gonna bring it out straight. Now your guide is gonna be right down there. Hopefully you guys can see that. And you're going to cut to that guide. Now, if you are cutting an inch off of the perimeter, you should also be cutting an inch off of the layers. So if it looks like there's more than an inch to cut or less than an inch to cut, you're probably holding it incorrectly or looking at the wrong guide. I'm going to take half of that center section that we just cut. I like to put everything else out of the way. And then you're going to take your next section on the right side. So it should look like this next. So you're gonna comb out. Everything should be brought out straight, not over directed this way, not over directed this way, but straight out. Now, not only can I see a guide at the bottom, but if I push this over, I can also see a guide from the previous section, which is why I like to always take half of my previous section. Now, a common mistake is people will bring this section over here to cut it. Make sure you're going straight out from where you're at. That's 90 degrees. Actually, technically it's like that. Not over here, not over here, but directly straight out. Push the hair out of the way so you can see your guide. It's also at the bottom. And cut it. Now, so important, you need to cross-check each section that you're at. If you don't, so let's say I didn't cross-check and I messed something up. If I mess something up on this section, I'm gonna mess something up on the next section. And if I mess something up on the next section, then I'm gonna mess something up on the next section. So when I'm checking my students' haircuts, a lot of times I will find something wrong with the top and then I'll keep checking and it really happened in the back, but they were just following the incorrect guide. Cross-check this right section. So the way you cross-check is you take an opposite parting. So I took vertical to cut it, so I'm gonna take horizontal to check it. Do not bring it down here to check it. If it was cut at 90, it needs to be checked at 90. So I need to hold it out here, hold it straight out, and that looks correct. If you notice a slight curve in your section, it's okay because the head curves. So it shouldn't be like blunt line. It should kind of have a curve to it. I go to my next section. So I'm gonna go back to the middle, move the right side out of the way, and now I'm working towards the left. So I'm gonna take my next section. I'm gonna hold this out at 90 degrees. Now, where is my guide? My guide is down here, but it's also, if I push this out of the way, it's also right there from my previous section. So I've cut this whole side. So that means my guide is gonna be over here, but also at the bottom. Make sure you're at 90 degrees and you're gonna cut palm to palm. Take half of that, move that out of the way, bring this straight out at 90 degrees, and you're going to cut. I'm gonna cross-check this section at 90 degrees, make sure everything looks right, and it does. Okay, so now we've finished this whole bottom section. We cross-checked it, everything looks good. We're ready to move on. What I don't want you to do is I don't want you to take a huge section down, because what will happen is if you take all of this down, you're gonna be holding a lot of hair in your hands, because you're not only gonna have to take this section in your hands, but you're gonna have to take some of this as your guide. So don't take down too much. Like I said, I want you guys to only do this haircut in the back in 4 sections. And again, you're gonna start in the center. So here's about where that next section starts and ends. So that means that when we're at the center, everything needs to be held in between this line and this line, straight out here. Now we are gonna have to grab some from down here as your guide though. You don't have to grab all of this in your hands. You only need a little bit of the bottom as your guide. And you're gonna hold it palm to palm, and you're gonna hold it out at 90 degrees, and your guide is gonna be at the bottom. Cut it here so you can actually see a better angle. So again, you're gonna hold it out here. There is my guide right down there. And I'm at 90 degrees because I'm in line with this. Next, you're gonna take a little bit of your next section and half of the previous section. And again, you're gonna hold it out at 90 degrees. Now remember, you're gonna have to rotate your body as you go because the head curves both ways. Before you cut, make sure you can see your guide. Don't cut the guide, but cut to the guide. So not only do I see a guide down here, but I also, if I move this over, can see it from the previous section as well, and that always is helpful. It looks good, so I'm gonna move on to the next side. Back to the middle, take a little bit of my next section, bring it out at 90 degrees. You don't have to hold all this hair, remember, you only need a little bit from the previous section. My guide is right there. Hold that out. Common mistake that I will see people hold this section all the way down here, past their knuckles. I've seen people grab it so dramatically, and then when they go to cut it, they can't see anything. Make sure that you're spreading it out with your comb and following your fingers with your comb. Try to focus above your knuckle. Now, it's okay if it goes a little bit below your knuckle, that's fine. You just don't want it to be all bunched up. So make sure you spread it out, follow all the way through, push the hair out of the way so you can see your guide, and then cut it. I see just one little hair that I missed. So we're gonna continue working up the section of the back. Remember that wherever your section is, so the top of the section line, which is right here, that is where it needs to be projected. So as you go, so right here, you want to project it straight out, not straight out this way, directly out from where you're at. So that means this section, this last section we're going to cut, will be projected up here. Now at this point of the haircut, we are so far up on the head, you can see we're past halfway. So we're going to switch our hand position from palm to palm to overhanded. That means I'm gonna stand to the left of my mannequin the whole time. I'm gonna comb towards myself and grab behind the comb, and I'm gonna pull all the way out at 90 degrees. And you can see my guide right at the bottom towards my fingernails. The top of my section, that means I'm gonna be holding the hair up here at 90 degrees. And you can see my guide right there at the bottom towards my fingernails, and I'm gonna cut upwards. Now I'm going to take half of that section and my next section, a little bit of the previous section so I can see a guide, and I'm going to hold it out. Now I don't want to over direct it towards me. Make sure I'm directly in between both lines, both partings. Checking to see my guide and cutting. Now I'm on my last section. And again, I'm gonna hold that out at 90 degrees, checking for my guide and cutting. My top section, make sure you're not holding it down here to check it, but you're holding it out at 90 degrees to check it. And it's all even. I'm gonna take my next section on the left, and I'm gonna hold that out. Make sure you're combing all the way to the scalp and comb that out at 90 degrees. Check for your guide and cut. Now you're going to cross check again and make sure everything looks good. I missed a couple of hairs right there. Now we're on our last section. So for our last section, we're gonna let that all fall down. Now again, you're gonna start in the middle and grab some from the bottom. And again, you're gonna hold this out. Now the way to tell that you're at 90 is you wanna look at the top of the section, which is right here. So that means everything is gonna be projected out here. So here's the top of the section. The head is curving. Everything is gonna be held up here at 90 degrees. So I'm gonna hold this up at 90 degrees. You can see your guide right down there. You're gonna take half of that and your next section. Hold that up at 90 degrees. Let that hair fall because you only need a little bit of your guide. There's some of it from the previous section. Cut. I'm at the last section on the right side, which is right here. Now this section is kind of a triangle. So what you wanna do is take a little bit of a pivotal section right here and your triangle, and you're gonna hold it out here at 90 degrees. And my guide is right there at the bottom. Take the whole top and you're gonna hold it out here at 90 degrees. And that looks good. Take the left side now, a bit of that side. It helps so much to like comb away the sections you're not cutting. 90 degrees. Push the hair out of the way to see your guide and cut. Cross check. Missed a little bit of hair right there. Fix it. And we're done with the back. Now for the side, what you're gonna do is you're gonna take down about an inch, like so. Now this haircut is meant to be like a true 90-degree uniform layered haircut is meant to be for shorter hair because it's going to take the shape of the hairline and the shape of the head. So keep in mind that when you do this, it is gonna go up at an angle and then go down a little bit lower. You can fix it at the end, but that is what it will look like. I'm gonna follow this line all the way back and scoop a bunch of a guide from the back. Now, instead of bringing it down here, it's gonna be kind of confusing to find your guide. So go ahead and elevate this section at 90 degrees and you're gonna cut it even to that short piece right there. So I'm holding it out at 90 degrees. Now you're gonna take down half. Now you're gonna continue, just like the back, you're gonna take vertical sections. Take some from the back, so you have a guide. Take some from the side, your new section, and you're gonna hold it out at 90 degrees. Your guide will be at the bottom from where you just cut, but it also will be from the back, since you have a guide from there. So hold it out at 90 degrees, cut it there. Remember, 90 degrees is directly out from the section that you're at. Then you're gonna take a little bit of your guide, the rest of your side section, hold that out at 90 degrees, cut it even to your guide. Just cross check. When you're cross checking, take the side top section and the back together, hold it out at 90 degrees, and it is correct. Take down the rest. Take down the rest of the side, but remember, this half of the side, the section ends here. So that means you're gonna have to bring it out directly from these. So this is 90 degrees. So down here, this was 90 degrees. Up here, since the head curves, this is gonna be 90. And you're gonna hold up at 90 here, and your guide is gonna be at the bottom, right there. A little bit of that as your guide. Your next section, hold it straight up. Always make sure to cross check, because remember, if you cut the side wrong, the top will be wrong. So make sure you're cross checking everything. You're gonna repeat this on the other side and then we'll move on to the top. Before we move on to the top, always make sure that these two top sections are even. And they are. So now we're on the top section, which is the last. You're gonna unclip it completely and you're gonna comb it back towards you. What you're gonna do from here is you're gonna section out a very tiny little mohawk section all the way back like this. This side, comb everything out of the way, go on this side, and comb everything out of the way. So all I have right now is this little mohawk section. This mohawk section all the way back to the crown, pick it up, and you wanna make sure that you grab a lot of hair from the back so you can see a guide from where you've already cut. So basically when you hold this up, you're gonna see a guide from the back, right there, that short piece. And you're gonna hold it here first to cut. because that's 90 degrees from the crown. Then you're gonna recomb it and you're gonna direct it, you're gonna take some of it out and you're gonna redirect it here because that's 90 degrees from there. Then you're gonna comb that out and you're gonna redirect it here because that's 90 degrees from this point. Basically, you want to cut it at 90 degrees as the head changes. You can even take half of the hair out and bring it forward like that if you want to. So here is 90 degrees from this point. There's my guide right down there. Cut it, take out some of what you just cut, redirect it up a little bit higher, cut it, take some of that out, grab some more of your mohawk, hold this part straight up. You can see your guide right there. Take some of that out, recomb it to this section, which is 90 degrees from this point. There's my guide. And we're done with the mohawk. Now what you're gonna do is you're gonna comb your mohawk section all the way over to one side. Now you're gonna take vertical sections going this way. You wanna hold it in between where we just cut the mohawk and where we just cut the side. So you're gonna hold it in between those two sections and blend them together. You can see there's a guide there for my mohawk and a guide there from the side, and I'm gonna cut the two so that they're even. Here is your next section. You're gonna hold that straight up at 90 degrees from in between those two sections. And you can see a guide, hopefully you can, from there and there. And you're gonna cut what's in between. Section, hold that up at 90 degrees. Make sure you're combing all the hair. Lower it, you can see your guides. Cut. A guide there and a guide there. Now, if you see that one guide is longer than the other, adjust your fingers so that they're even. So to cross check, you're gonna take vertical sections this way, hold them straight up, and make sure that they are correct, which they are. So now you're gonna comb it over to the other side, which I already did, and you're gonna take the same section. So you're gonna take vertical section this way, hold it at 90 degrees. There's my guide and there's my guide. Adjust your hands if you need to. There's my guide and there's my guide. My two guides. Guide there, cut what's in between. To check this haircut further, you can go in and check the T section, which would be right here down the mohawk, and then bring it over and check this way. And any hairs that you see, like there's a long hair right there, you're gonna fix it. Hold everything up at 90 degrees from this point. Be sure to check your own haircuts before you have someone else check it. There's some long hairs right there. Long hairs right there. And we're done. So hopefully that helped you guys. If you have any questions about it, be sure to ask, and I hope you guys have an awesome day.